You are listening to the Fit Figure Formula podcast. I help female perfectionists beat self-sabotage and lose the weight for good using the Fit Figure Formula coaching program. I'm your host, Stephanie Riles, registered dietitian, personal trainer, and mindset transformation coach. If you've been struggling with all or nothing thinking, negative self-talk, or self-sabotage, this is the podcast for you. Learn how to get consistent and become the best version of yourself from the inside out. So let's get started. Hello, everyone. It's Coach Steph. I am back. I'm going to be talking about, are you actually doing what it takes to get the result? I think today's topic is important because sometimes we feel like I'm doing all the things and I'm still not getting the result. And then sometimes you're not doing everything. You're like, yeah, that sounds about right. Okay. I don't know how to get myself to be consistent. So I was having a coaching call the other day with a client, and we were talking about basically wanting the result versus doing what it takes, right? Knowing what to do versus actually doing it. And how she could give herself grace without letting herself off the hook, right? This is a very fine line, right? Because we do want to give ourselves grace. We do want to give ourselves compassion. We do want to, not try to be perfect. And notice when you're letting yourself off the hook every time, and then it just becomes an excuse. A lot of times we want the result, but we hate the process so much that we don't actually get it done. And this is why falling in love with the process, this is why looking at your health journey as a way to take care of yourself and finding love in it is helpful, so that it's not grueling, so that you're not just eating this salad so that you can lose a pound. It's really important that you find joy, growth, compassion. Like, think of it as a journey, like almost like a spiritual journey of let me see how well I can take care of myself. Right? Have you ever thought about your weight loss journey in that way? Because the process is what gets you there. Sometimes we're so focused on the actual goal and we frustrate ourselves trying to get to this goal because we're not there yet, because we have far to go, because maybe we had a setback, and you're missing the opportunities to capture how well I can take care of myself right now. And the process is where the progress is. So if the process is restrictive, if it's unenjoyable, if it feels like you're rushing, like you're in a challenge, like you need to hurry up and get there, it's like hurry up and get where? Because if you think about it, like I'm just taking care of myself, even if you get to your scale weight, you still have to do those same things. There's no finish line, right? And if we're approaching it like we're in a rush or like we're in a challenge, we won't be able to do it very long, and we won't be able to keep the result. Right? So the process can't be restrictive and unenjoyable and like challenge energy. You're going to burn out if you approach a lifestyle change like challenge energy. And kind of how you know that you're approaching your lifestyle change like challenge energy is if you're changing everything week 1, if you're doing these countdowns. Like, I get the sentiment behind it is cute. Day 1, day 2 at the gym, day 4. But I've never heard anyone say, day 465. This happens only at the beginning with like the beginner type of mindset. And it's motivating at the beginning, but it's too much to sustain. So I want you to think about like your best days or your best weeks and your worst days or your worst weeks, and position yourself somewhere in the middle, because that's what you'll be able to do long term. And this looks like, instead of trying to get 10,000 steps every day when your normal steps were 3,000, maybe you're only doing 6,000 or 7,000, and that's your goal. That's what you can keep up with and do more consistently, versus trying to do 10, 15,000 steps, but you only do that once a week or twice a week. And then every other day is like 2 or 3K, right? So if the process is too restrictive, if it's unenjoyable, if you are in a rush, it's not going to be sustainable. Okay. So sometimes if we want the results so bad that it feels like we're doing all the things, like we want the results so bad, and we made plans to work out 4 times a week. We made plans to eat certain things and to do our walks. We made plans, right? And we put energy into making the plan. And because we want the goal and we want the results so bad, it feels like we're doing all the things. But if you are not tracking these habits, this tracking is critical. And this is what we do inside the formula. I get to track everything that you do. So I can see clearly, this is why I'm a science person. I like numbers. I'm like, oh, here are the numbers. You had planned to work out 4 times a week. For these last 4 weeks, you've only gotten in an average of 2. This is an area of improvement because I can tell you way more accurately what is missing and what you need to improve upon, where we need to focus, where we need to rework your schedule. And that way you're not confused, because sometimes it can feel like, especially because y'all try to do everything all at the same time and you're putting effort into doing it, right? And you may be doing more than what you were doing. And this really kind of gets clients sometimes. Like sometimes it's like, well, I'm doing more, and you expect the result of someone who's doing everything because you're doing a little like more than what you were doing. And it feels like you're putting a lot of energy and effort into it because you also really, really desire the result. But if we look at the numbers, you're not actually doing 4 workouts every week. You're not actually in a calorie deficit. You're not actually tracking every week because, you know, your son had a birthday party and that week was all over the place. And you forgot that you had a work conference and had to go out of town. And we look back over the numbers and we're like, yeah, you actually weren't in a calorie deficit, which can be frustrating, but it can also be like, okay, here's why. Because it's more frustrating to feel like I'm doing everything. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, and not being able to figure out what it is that you need to fine tune. Now you're just putting in a whole bunch of effort, a whole bunch of energy, a whole bunch of desire into a whole bunch of different things, and you don't know what's working and what's not. Which is why in the formula, I don't start out with everything. I just, week by week, we put one foot in front of the other, and I teach you something and then we practice. I teach you something and then we practice. And it's very step by step. And a lot of clients in the first 4 weeks are like, okay, I'm ready for my numbers. And I'm like, I know you're used to rushing through this process, but we're going to go slow on purpose. And they're like, hey, give me more. And I'm like, no, let's just do what we're doing and slow down. And I promise you, over 16 weeks, you do so much stuff and you are able to integrate it into your actual lifestyle, into your actual calendar, and you're able to get so much more done. And it starts to feel like it's just part of your actual lifestyle. Okay. So are you actually tracking? Are you actually tracking your habits? Are you tracking if you went to the gym 4 times a week? Are you tracking your weight when you go to the gym? And this is easily done inside of my coaching app because it literally gives you exactly what to do. It gives you a space to document all of these things in a very simple way. And you're able to see the numbers. Are you actually lifting as heavy as you think you are when you go into the gym? Or are you still just going in there and just doing whatever you want to do, 3 sets of 10, using 10-pound weights for everything, even your upper body and lower body, thinking that because you're doing something, it's good enough to get the result. And that's where the frustration comes in. It's like, oh, I thought that I was putting in this extra effort, and that is great. I want you to give yourself credit for that. But sometimes the effort that we need to give is different from the effort that we're actually giving, even though it's more effort than we were giving before. And I want you to be strategic with your effort because it's not like an infinite thing, right? We get fatigued, we get decision fatigue, we get tired emotionally, mentally. And so this is why you can't be in a rush. This is why it has to be sustainable and enjoyable. And you have to figure out how to create a lifestyle out of this. So you're thinking about it as, this is how I'm taking care of myself. And this is going to make me feel better, not worse. Your weight loss journey, how you take care of yourself shouldn't be draining. If it's draining or a chore for you to do, you're doing it wrong. Taking care of yourself, eating well, moving your body should actually give you more energy. You should feel better mentally. You shouldn't be more drained because of what you're doing in terms of your weight loss journey, because we really should be thinking about it as how am I taking care of myself? Okay. So again, are you tracking with your workouts? Are you looking at your actual calorie deficit, or are you just trying to eat more mindfully? Oh, I'm eating more mindfully. I'm eating healthy. I'm making healthier choices. But what does that actually mean? That doesn't mean you're in a calorie deficit. It doesn't mean you're getting enough protein. It doesn't mean that you're in a calorie deficit from week to week to week. A lot of times we'll start off the week really well. By the time we get to Thursday, things start to get a little shaky. Thursday, Friday, we're like, okay, TGIF, it's the weekend. And then we have to kind of quote unquote restart on Monday. But that's only Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That's 3 days out of the week. That's not even half, right? Are you actually eating out just, the 1 or 2 times a week? Or are you forgetting about the random mindless stops at Chick-fil-A? And I was actually coaching a one-on-one client, and she was tracking her food, and she had originally told me, oh, I'm only eating out like once or twice a week. But when we actually looked at her logs, she was eating out like at least 4 times. And I'm like, oh, so you are eating out like more than you think, because you're living your life and you see Chick-fil-A and you randomly go over into the drive-thru thinking that this isn't a really big deal. But over the course of a week, it kind of adds up. And it reminds me of like, have y'all ever tried to like budget your money, or like only spend a certain amount, and you have this certain amount allotted to spend on certain things, and then you go back in your bank account and you're like, okay, I know like I did well, but then you go back and you add it up and you just cannot believe your eyes. Like you're just like, wow, how did all of that add up? Like the little things add up, right? So that is why it's important. Because if we hadn't have found out that she was going to Chick-fil-A a little bit more than she thought, then I would have thought, okay, well, maybe the calorie level isn't correct. But because we know that, now it's like, okay, this is your goal. You think you're not going out and eating Chick-fil-A more than you are. And now we just got to for real cut back and continue to track this and make sure that we're getting better. Okay. Knowing what to do and actually doing it are not the same thing. Y'all could take my lives and my podcast episodes, listen to them front to back, and create a plan exactly what I help my clients with, right? Now, the mindset coaching you can't really necessarily Google. You can take some of my nuggets, my tips, and try to apply them. It's not as effective as actually coaching, but you can get a lot of value and a lot of strategy for the nutrition and the mindset. And you could make some progress. But are you actually doing that? Right? Like the information is free on the internet. There's all the information that you want, and you still don't have your goal. Why is that? Right? Why is that? I know you want this bad. I know this is important to you, and I want to help you. I don't want you spending your time and your energy doing a whole bunch of stuff. If you have a plan, if you have a strategy, you'll just feel so much more confident and more grounded, like you actually have a plan that's actually doable. Tracking your habits helps you to see objectively what you're doing, what you're not doing, what's working, what's not working. And inside of the formula, I help you tracking know exactly what to change in your nutrition, your mindset strategy. I'm going to be in your back pocket every day for the next 16 weeks or longer. I'm going to help you lose 20 pounds. Okay. But you got to sign up today. So hopefully this was helpful and helps you get like a little bit of perspective in terms of this great desire that you have, and you're doing more than what you were doing, but you're expecting the result as if you were doing it 100%. So being able to get more clarity on what you're actually doing, what's working, what's not working, will help you feel more grounded, more confident, and actually get the result. Go figure. So I will see y'all on the next episode. Thanks for listening to the Fit Figure Formula podcast. If you're new here and you're struggling with your fitness journey, I invite you to take a super simple next step. Click the link in the show notes for a free training. If listening to this podcast has been helpful, imagine being inside the Formula Coaching Program. You can apply for coaching with the link in the show notes. I hope to see you inside.